In this episode, we talk about how much cardio an athlete who's trying to get stronger should put in their training week. Josh Manson asked, when a CrossFit athlete has a primary training focus of getting stronger, how often should they get out of breath? So this is one of those questions I'm going to do my best to answer. The assumption that I'm going to make is that when the person is asking this question that they want to get better at weightlifting, and when they say out of breath, they're just talking about just general energy system work, general cardio, if you will. But the answer to that question would be very different or maybe dependent if I had more information on the athlete. So what do they mean when they're saying getting stronger? Is it weightlifting strength, powerlifting strength, strongman strength, unilateral strength? So something like ability to tolerate something like kettlebell snatches or dumbbell power snatches or dumbbell overhead walking lunges, or is it gymnastic strength? And then subcategorized within each one of those, there are different types of categories of strength. So for gymnastics, the strength requirements to be really good at doing kipping muscle ups under fatigue are a little bit different from doing high volumes of strict muscle ups, for example. Within weightlifting, being able to hit and drive up 1RM snatch versus being able to hit a high percentage of that 1RM snatch from the hang after doing a Metcon. So having a little bit more specifics as to what the actual priorities in this person's training design would help me answer the question. And then getting out of breath, that is dependent. Is it low intensity breathing? Is it moderate intensity breathing? Is it high intensity breathing? Or is it just post strength work or breath hold recovery? So if I put a 80% of somebody's front squat on a barbell and I had them take it out of a rack and I said, I want you to go till failure, their brace is probably going to be so tight in the midline, and the diaphragm's primary role at that point is probably going to be spinal stabilization as opposed to breathing, because you could get crushed from the barbell. So as a survival system, your brain's going to prioritize maintaining spinal integrity and keeping your spine safe. So then when you rack that barbell, oftentimes if you watch people do high volume sets of strength work afterwards, they have that kind of panicked based out of breath recovery process to kind of get them back into a baseline. So each one of those different types of breathing or being out of breath would be different in terms of the allowability in a typical strength biased training protocol to get somebody better at CrossFit. But instead of just saying, hey, it depends, I could give you a better answer, I'd just say, okay, let's give you a jump off point. So a jump off point would be start with doing 2 low or moderate intensity energy system days in a week, and 1 at a maximum, 1 hard maximal effort energy system day. So that gives you 3 total days of the week that are for breathing or allowing yourself to get out of breath. Then what you do is you just watch performance metrics on strength. So if strength is the priority, you got to dictate, well, what am I trying to get stronger? How often am I going to retest? And make sure that the training protocols that you're putting in place are allowing you to actually get stronger. If you're not, it doesn't necessarily mean though that you're just breathing too much. So you might be able to keep that steady and play with eating a little bit more, or play with increasing your overall sleep volume and sleeping an extra hour a day and seeing if that helps. Think about taking a little bit more rest time between sets. And if those things aren't working, you can lower your energy system total volume. So take it from that jump off point I gave you and say, all right, now we're going to cut out the hard day. Now we just have 2 low or moderate training energy system days in my week, and see if that works. If you're still not getting stronger, I would probably advise not going any lower than just doing 2 low intensity energy system days a week. There are some very, very, very elite strength athletes that might do none. I don't know if that'd be the model for long-term health, long-term development, but I definitely say that it's not a model for trying to transfer the strength that you're cultivating back into CrossFit. I've seen people go through those types of training phases where they're just focused on getting stronger, not doing anything else, no accessory work, no breathing. By the time they get back into trying to put it into a CrossFit specific environment, their strength levels they hit their peak, and then they start to deteriorate as conditioning comes up, and they almost end up back where they started. So I'd probably advise dropping under any of that and saying, okay, if that's your jump off point, maintain that. However, that being said, the ultimate goal with a CrossFit athlete would be to maintain your strength levels as high as you possibly can, or even drive them up while maintaining a high volume of conditioning so that you can actually compete in the sport. If you look at an elite training protocol or training protocol I write for Travis or Noah, the total volume of energy system work is quite high. And now if they try to go into an off season, we do drop that volume. It's not high year round. It does happen in cycles, but even in their off seasons or in their low intensity energy system cycles, they're still doing a fair bit of conditioning to maintain overall general work capacity. So your goal really should be get as much breathing as you possibly can while driving strength metrics up. So if you start at that jump off point and you are successful in your ability to drive up your strength levels, instead of keeping that and riding the strength gains, I would probably try adding energy system work in so that the strength you're cultivating in is cultivated at a level of overall fatigue or overall work output of the week that will translate into you being better at the sport. Now, if you're not competing in CrossFit and you're competing in weightlifting and powerlifting, then some of those rules don't apply, but your goal should be to drive your respiration levels up and your total energy system work up as high as you can tolerate while still getting better at all the things and not burning yourself out and making sure that your general health is taken care of. So hopefully those guidelines will help you construct a training week that allows you to get stronger and allows you to manage your energy system training in a way that that's not deteriorating strength work. When I created Training Think Tank, I wanted it to be just that, a think tank, a group of people that gets together and challenges each other's ideas on training. So what you watch in this video is one coach's beliefs. The other coaches and myself may or may not agree with what was said, but we're okay with that because we want to facilitate a discussion about training in the market.